Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Idahoan show. Last time I demonstrated making a holster for this gun. The other thing I typically do to a new handgun after I buy it is make some custom grips for it. Now, this is an older gun. It actually came with some pretty decent walnut grips. They're kind of pretty. They really fit my hand pretty well, but I still think I can probably do better. So today I figured I would just do a quick demonstration on making custom grips for a revolver. So the first thing that we're going to need in order to make these custom grips is a piece of wood. In this case I'm using New Mexican mesquite wood, which is my favorite for pistol grips and knife handles and anything else in that class that I need to make. It grows in the deserts of New Mexico where water is very limited, the rate of growth is very slow, and so you get a very tight, dense grain structure, a very hard, tough wood, and also, in my opinion, a very pretty grain structure. And it's also fairly affordable. It's in some cases considered kind of a nuisance shrub, so if you're in the right place at the right time, you can pick up chunks of it like this for free. First thing we're going to need to do with this block of wood is turn it into a block. Right now it's just a section of a branch, and so I'm going to take a half hatchet and carve it down or hew it down into a block. Okay, so now we've hewed our basic block of mesquite wood. I'm going to take and plane this a little bit to true up the sides a little. Of course, we want to make the grip in mating halves, so the next thing we need to do is cut this block in half, and I'm just going to do that with a handsaw here. Okay, so now we've drawn our layout on both halves of the block here, and that really divides it into three regions. The parts we're just going to cut off, the parts that are going to mate up to this part of the gun, and the parts that are going to mate up to this part of the gun. And so what we need to do then is to measure the thickness of these two parts of the gun so that we can determine how much we need to recess those. Looks like this part is about 360 thousandths, 355 to 360. So let's recess each of those half of that, or 180 thousandths. The top looks like it's about 650 thousandths. So again, divide that in half, and that's how much we recess these portions. So I've already gone ahead and cut off the parts of these that we didn't need. What remains now is to recess them so that they fit the gun. And there's a variety of ways that we could do that. Probably the best way would be on a milling machine, but I don't have a milling machine, and milling machines are kind of expensive. Another way you could do it would be with a router. Routers are not particularly expensive, but I don't happen to have one of those around at the moment either. So what I've done, I've just put an end milling cutter in my drill press here, and I'm going to use that to carve out these recesses to the required depth. So once the inside of the grip has been fitted to the gun, the next step will be fitting the outside of the grip to our hand. And that we do mostly by carving it down with wood chisels. So now that we've done the rough carving with chisels, we'll want to smooth this up a little, and for that we use a Dremel sanding drum. We're pretty much done shaping the handles here, and I also went ahead and drilled a hole through those so that we can attach them with a screw. At this point, it's time to epoxy bed the grips to the frame. And because the grips need to mate to the frame and also to each other, we're going to have to do these in two stages. First, we'll bed this grip to the frame, and then we'll let that harden, and then bed this grip to the frame and to the grip that's already in place. So I've carved the grips to fit my hand, I've epoxy bedded them to the frame of the gun. Now all that remains is to do a little finish sanding and then apply a linseed oil finish to the wood.
So here's our finished product. You know, the fluorescent lights don't bring out the color of the wood very well, but this ended up being a beautiful piece of mesquite. You know, amateur custom grips like this aren't necessarily going to increase the monetary value of the gun any, but they'll certainly make it more ergonomic to shoot, which will allow us to shoot faster and more accurately. And hey, I mean, it only cost about $10 to make these things, most of that being the cost of the epoxy bedding compound, which is really optional, although it certainly provides a better fit between the grips and the frame. Anyway, I can't wait to get out and shoot this thing.